Give me a sec here. There we are for that one. I'd forgotten how complex this little symbol gets. Alright, still good, still good. Alright. Should I? Let's figure it out. Black and white. Paint goes kind of fast when you use it up. That kind of makes sense, don't it? It's kind of its entire purpose. Alright. I haven't quite gotten the hang of being able to clean a brush entirely without spending a lot of time doing so. I think I'm doing alright though. I guess, I don't know. Such is the way of things. But yeah, I'm hoping to get the base colors done today. That's kind of my goal for now. And then hopefully tomorrow I can do a lot of well, I can finalize it with the shading on all the other colors. Oh, hopefully. Well, tomorrow's gonna be the deadline for the day of my own self-imposed timeline. Alright, so I want the gray, which is a little lighter. With that, bit of black, and smooth it in. There we go. Close enough, I think. Especially for the small little bit I've got here. And it's this guy. But yeah, I always do have the tendency to get like little tiny little tools, brushes, what have you, and try and paint that way. A large one would probably work out a bit better. But I always like the very fine control on the edges and such. And I can't really do that with a bigger brush. As I say, as I completely screw it up. And of course. Let's go, let's go. Alright. But this has been an interesting little project I've been working on. Seeing like some of the if I actually, I don't know the words, actually spend time on something, how much I can get done. Because my other paintings I tend to only do on other occasions. I was doing them on like Sundays and like maybe a second day on the week. And it took me a very long time to get any sort of progress on them. But this one I'm almost done in the week, and it really does go to show how much you actually can do if you just like stop and get to it. But I guess I do kind of have that problem. I don't ever get to it often enough. Looks like I've got a odd little, not quite a mix there. The shade is a little off. Oh no, that's just residue from my little scribble from before. Let's try this one as the base color, and then the one down here as just a outline type of thing. Alright. Because I do know I have a big issue with time, but I don't know how I get around it. My main issue is my days tend to be fragmented, which makes it difficult to do any one particular task, because I know I have to stop soon after and pick it up later. I could just do it anyway. That is one way about it, but it just doesn't ever feel like I have enough time to do anything of value. And but I'm betting that's probably just an excuse on my part. And it's finding out when those excuses actually are an excuse, or when they're a valid thought. Being able to determine that is quite valuable, but I'm still trying to figure out what's what. And then there's the aspect of splitting your focus, because I found that doesn't really work. It can have an effect, but it doesn't really work. Now, you do need to split your focus to do multiple things in your life. Your job, your hobbies, travel, friends, stuff like that, which is understandable. But at some point, well, at least for me, I started stretching everything really thin, and all the things I was doing weren't quite working out. It wasn't enough. I'd spend a lot of time trying to get to the next step, or the next thing I had to get to, and I'd spend more time preparing and stuff than I did actually doing it, which just doesn't work for me personally. I'm hoping I can solve that particular issue in the coming days, especially with the move. I've got a lot of hopes riding on this move I'm doing. And I do know there's this thing, apparently it's called like Paris syndrome or some such. I can't remember specifically what. But it's this thing where like a lot of Japanese tourists go to Paris because of all the anime and such. They talk about how wonderful of a city it is and pretty and pristine and all these romance manga or whatever the hell it is. I don't quite know where all it comes from, but apparently a lot of Japanese think Paris is a wonderful place. And so they go there expecting all sorts of really cool things. But it turns out it's kind of a smelly, disgusting town from what I've heard. And their illusion of this great place is kind of shattered. And they even have like, some people apparently had breakdowns because of it or something. It's weird, but mainly what I'm getting at is I know not to expect everything to be fixed when I move. I know there's going to be new problems and other things to work on. But I do hope it'll at least give new opportunities as well. It's a big one. But it all like falls back in the problem of time. Not enough time in the day to do everything you want to do. So you gotta make choices and you gotta choose priorities. And I tend to be a very just can't ever think of the words, can I? Indecisive. I tend to be rather indecisive with a lot of things, and it's one of my flaws. I'm trying to work at going past. One of the reasons, not really a main reason, but something to help with it. I made the decision to go with this. I made the decision to move at the end of November. I'm trying to stick with it. And stick to what I said I'd do. Type of thing. It's a lot easier said than done. While at the same time also being exactly what it said it is. And this is just off. Yeah, this needs a sharp incline there, a bit more of a fix there. I think that's most of the gray. I think you need a little touch up. I'm not sure specifically how, but let's see, we've got you, comes out a bit more like that. I think change like that. There we go, that looks a bit better, that looks a bit better. I'm gonna fill the rest in with the blue. Alright, cool. I think that I do have the sword bit. I do have that to fill in as well. That's a gray too. Alright, so that's too big. Too big. Need the small brush. Need the small brush. Where are you? There's one of you, but you're not the right one. There you are. But yeah, I'm hoping to... I have hopes for the move. There is more to it. And I do have regrets, and I believe I'll have lingering ones even on when I'm still there. Because I am picking up and leaving everybody I know, for the most part. But at the same time, I'm hoping to find some more people, more opportunities, more things. Because I don't know exactly what it is, but I feel just kind of alone out here. Even though I've got people around and I talk to people on a daily basis, there's not quite my people. Artsy fartsy type of people. People with the same hobbies, same interests. It's just 80% of the time, most of the people I talk to are customers who tend to be seniors, the elderly. And while they have fascinating topics to talk about, like dude yesterday who restores furniture, we had a nice conversation with him. It's not really... I guess the other aspect is none of them stick around. It's... they pop in, chat with them for a bit, and then they leave, and I never see them again. And there's the people who do stick around are you guys on chat, or my coworkers. And no offense to any of them, but I do get along with them, and we do occasionally tell stories and such together. But just not not a full clique. It doesn't. They're coworkers, not close friends. I think is the best way to put it. I do consider them friends, but not... just... I don't know. I just feel it's not all there. The things I personally want and things I personally am interested in aren't quite shared by the others. While it's fascinating listening to what they have, their interests and what they like to do, I can't quite share in that. It's a weird, kind of alone feeling. And since it's such a small town, there really isn't any options to find more people. Like, quite literally, one of the popular hangouts is the town library. The single town library, because that's all we got. Or it used to be the Walmart, but Walmart's gone to shit. So it's just not really anything to do. Not really any of my particular fascinations. I'm hoping moving to the city, I can find more opportunities. I don't necessarily need the perfect opportunity, although that would be perfect and ideal. It would be nice just to have more options available, as well as my own internet that I don't have to fight other people for, or have to worry about if I can even watch anything because it's too high quality. It doesn't work. Hello, hello. Hello there, Lek. Welcome, welcome. I'm just rambling about personal thoughts. How's your day going? think I cleaned up all the steel aspects, the metal bits of the sword and the shield. I think I'm ready for some, let's go with some outlines. See if I can, already got the brush in hand. See where that goes. Yeah. You're a new viewer, so I'm not quite sure what all you know. But I've... oh. Give me a sec. But I will be moving to Texas, Fort Worth, this November, maybe December. 3 days, yeah. It's just, I ramble about a lot of stuff, so it's hard to keep track of who knows what, or what I've already said. But yeah, I'm planning to move. I currently live now in Washington State, rural America. I'm you could classify me as a hermit, and I wouldn't deny it. I live up in a mountain, in a forest. My folks wanted a place out here of their own, 20 acres. We own our own 20-acre lot. And we live way the hell out here on this mountain, in the forest, 20 miles from town, and a total of 100 miles to the nearest city. So we're way out there. Though it's not all that uncommon for the area, surprisingly enough. But yeah, still, it's quite remote. And a bit too remote for things I need to do. So I've been looking at moving. Places to go, things to do, things to try. All that jazz. Yes, it is. And a lot of people don't quite understand that concept. One of the other ones is internet is a big one here. I'm currently on upgraded internet through a cellular service, AT&T, as the best I can possibly get out here. And even still, this is the most resolution I can get without it starting to wig out on me. This was an upgrade from satellite. While the satellite was reliable, it was always there, it was also very slow and had a data cap. We could download, once we hit the data cap, they would slow us down, and we would be able to download at 170 kilobytes a second. That was the speed at which we could download shit. If you know anything about internet, that's very, very, very slow and not very conducive to modern websites. But yeah. And then we have that internet speed shared between a family of 5, 6, depending on who all's here. So yeah, it's basically the equivalent of modern day dial-up, but potentially worse. So yeah. Anyway, we've got a cellular internet that I was telling you about. We've got a cellular modem hooked up to a tree right back there with a 4-foot long antenna strapped to it, pointed to the town 20 miles away. And we get 3 bars, at best. It sits around 3, hovers around 2 occasionally. And sometimes, and for whatever reason, it starts getting weird during sunup and sundown. For whatever reason, those times the signal kind of cuts out. I've tried streaming a couple of times at that time, but it always degrades the signal. I can't do anything about it. Annoying, yeah. You learn to live with it, but when you know you don't have to, that's the frustrating part. And to add a bit more insult to injury, we have fiber optic cable that goes right down the highway. You go down our little country dirt road, and you hit the highway, and they put fiber optic cable right on through there. We can't have it. It's right there. It's right there, but we can't have it because they'd have to put it in a junction box at our street in order to allow us access to it. But that junction box costs like $150,000, and they're not going to do that for like 5 people. So yeah, it's frustrating. But yeah, it's yeah, in town. That's a lot for some box. Yeah, it's like the main fiber optic cable on the highway. It's not like a little thing you can plug in to yourself. It's like it's a big thing. Best I can describe it as. Picked up too much paint on there. Okay. But yeah, I know quite a fair bit about cellular signals, internet quality, a lot of that jazz, because I had to like live and breathe it for some time. And then people say, well, just get better internet, man. I've tried. I've looked into just about anything. The only... Yeah, we had satellite internet. It was the only thing we could get out here. And it worked. And it was reliable. And we used it for a long time. But we needed more and better. So, looked into it. And there's this thing called... I'm actually blanking on the name of it, but it's a line of sight, point to point type thing, and it's like microwave internet. We've looked into that, but we're too far away. We've looked into potentially a type of internet that goes through power lines. That technology is discontinued. We looked into potentially cable stuff. They don't come out here. We've looked into just about everything, and this cellular signal is the only thing we can get. And it only works because we have big ass antenna connected to it. There. But yeah, so such is life. Yeah, so for reference, I took a trip to my friend down in Phoenix a few years ago. Quite a few years ago now. And he has high-speed inner-city internet. Oh, cool. Maybe I can download a bunch of stuff I've been wanting to try. Like a bunch of games that I could play, but wouldn't be able to download in time. Or it would take me, yeah, like... It would take a month to download some of the games. But, so I had this big old list of, draw some mannequin for practice, but I don't want to. You don't have to. Why specifically a mannequin? Do you have one, or are you just... Or like one of those little table ones, or are you talking about? But, yeah, I, went into the, inner city internet, and I had this big old list of things I was going to download, and I was going to be there a week. I downloaded flat out everything in a couple hours, and had to struggle to come up with a couple of things on the spot to download more, and in one day I had everything I was planning for a week. That would take that we would not be able to download with our internet. That's just the difference of high speed versus what we got here. It's just unless you've experienced it, it's really hard to explain how significant it is. Okay, simplified fix. Okay, okay, gotcha. Because when you talk about mannequins, I think of actual mannequins because at one point I was looking at creating one. I originally started this channel with sewing. Probably not. Hopefully tomorrow though. I'll probably get done with the base color, fill in all these little white spots floating around, but I still have a bit of reshading to do. Like on here, he's got a couple of shades. This is all flat color, and I'm hoping to quickly breeze through some of that tomorrow. At least that's the goal. I'm finishing him up in... I started this guy and I was gonna finish it in a week. That was the goal, and that's what I'm gonna try and stick to. But yeah, he's gonna get finished. Maybe not perfectly, but he will get done. And the thing for me is, I'm trying to do it with mistakes in mind. Because the other ones, back there, the Beatrice, I worked very hard at getting everything as accurate as I could. It could still take longer, but I wanted to make sure things were accurate. This guy, I want to make sure they're close. Hey, Zegado, welcome back. Painting? Talking about internet again. And such. But oh yeah, the mannequins. Yeah, I originally started this channel doing sewing. And at one point I was looking at making cosplay outfits and the like. So one of the things I tried to do was make a mannequin. You need about there. I think it's where you need to go. And so I quite literally made a mannequin out of clay, but didn't follow through with it because it was the wrong type of clay, and what I was planning for wasn't going to work out with it. So I've looked into mannequins and how some of them are made. It's a weird process. Ooh, internet rigged out. And internet issues. My stream seems to be fine, but my laptop just died out on me because it keeps automatically connecting to the router instead of the modem, leading to some odd hiccups every so often. But we should be good, I think. Such is life, though. Oh yeah, speaking of internet a bit more as well, one of our biggest sellers in Radio Shack, where I work, is actually cell phone boosters. We sell them like crazy. We have trouble keeping them in stock. People need them so much. It's weird. Even out here, it's understandable that people need a booster. They live out in the sticks. But the sheer amount of them is kind of baffling to me. We have sold so many boosters that our supplier, we normally have some refurbished ones so that people can save a little bit of money. And they've run out of refurbished ones to work with. Why are you still? You're good, you're connected. What's going on? Still uploading. I think I'm good. So, all right. Internet's just being weird today. But yeah, we sell cell phone boosters. It's crazy. And these aren't just cheap little like an antenna you can slap onto a phone. These are like $300, $400, $500, $800 booster kits that people just buy up straight out. It's honestly kind of amazing how much money some people have to just toss on some things. While there are the other occasional family people who have to sit there and question it. External 4G modem. 4G, 5G now. But yeah, the big ol' cell phone signal booster. You slap an antenna up on a tree, a pole, your roof, something, goes into an internal booster and then out to a local Wi-Fi antenna to your phone so that it can amplify the signal. Apparently it looks like I have some paint flecks on here that are causing everything to look weird. Alright. Give me one moment. Trying to use up the paint here I got before it dries out. And there it goes. So yeah, well, it's not really a modem. It's a booster. It amplifies the signal and then boosts it. It catches, receives, and boosts the signal. Yeah, it's not that good around this place. And we have a lot of people out in the mountains, the sticks, the forests, and they're miles away from anywhere. And they have old flip phones, and they get like 1 bar-ish if they stand on one leg on this rock on the hill over here, bending. There we go, we got signal. That's the kind of places we have out here. And so a lot of them do need some signal boosters, but the weird thing is how much they need it now, specifically. Because a lot of these people have been living like this for quite some time, but it's only recently that the signal boosters have been taken up by storm. I think a lot of it is this pandemic thing, which isn't a pandemic, but we'll not go there today. Yeah, and everything requiring internet connections to do things safely. Yeah, we had one family come in that needed to get a laptop for their kindergartner child so that they could go to school, and they needed to buy a internet router so that they could connect this laptop that they bought their child to connect it to the internet. And it's just stupid. That's a lot. The schools are reopening up now, and but they're not allowing kids into class because fear of contagion and such. Yeah, and that's just a part of a computer. Yeah, it's like $700 for a new video card. I used to be somewhat up to date on the video card stuff, but I've completely fallen out of it because there's no point in following it. Doing anything top of the line when it comes out is expensive, and it'll drop in price immediately afterwards. As soon as the next one comes out, that one will shift in price significantly. So just don't worry about it. Things will work out. And the other one is, if you're like ever into like the brand new stuff, it'll you have to worry about things not working out right, like initial glitches because they rush something. And so if you wait and get a decent mid-range one, or just wait until that super deluxe, whatever the hell it is, works out all the kinks, the price is now more manageable. And look at that. I've got the previous tops of the line for peanuts, and everything works fine. Look at that. Unlucky to have measly $50,000. Last year, a couple of years. And that's the thing. And that actually is things lasting a while. That's another interesting thing, because we've got, like I keep saying, there's like elderly people here. Yeah, it's just. And that's why you don't buy it when it first comes out. It's only the absolute fanboys or like technophiles do any of that shit. There's no point in getting the brand spanking new bit, because the other one is just as good. But longevity, that's one of the things. I work at a Radio Shack. Radio Shacks don't exist anymore. The short answer is they don't exist anymore. But they were made at a time when people did radios, electronics, odd little odds and ends for people to come up and get. But so we get old folks come in and expecting us to still have their old as shit technology just sitting on the shelf. Hey, so do you have like old speaker wire I can still use? The type you gotta like just twist onto the little speaker? You got any of that? No? We've progressed past speaker wire into coax, into RCA, into auxiliary. You're a dinosaur. We don't have any of that shit. Oh, okay. Or people asking for an AM FM radio antenna for their specific model that they think we still sell. Or like all this weird things. Do you have a analog antenna RC modulator anymore? We did? Just all this weird, really old stuff. And then they get mad that we don't have it. Well, I came in here 3 years ago and you guys still had it. That was 3 years ago, and that was probably the last one we had. Yeah, there was one guy who came in asking for a DSL phone cable for his rotary phone that he still used. Let me rephrase it. He had a rotary phone, and he was looking for a cable to plug into it. Apparently it still worked, but it's a rotary phone. Those like are out of production. But that's what we have to deal with sometimes. Or we have to explain to people they don't make that anymore. It can't be found. We don't sell that. Well, bullshit. I bought that from you guys years ago. Yep, I definitely know about that. The other aspect is big companies design everything to be broken and not be able to be repaired. As much as I enjoy the Android interface, I absolutely hate their hardware. They are not designed to be fixed. Not easily, anyway. But yeah, it's like everything is under lock and key. If you break it, we're the ones who have to fix it for you, not some third-party schmuck. But yeah, I think if you really want to look into some weird right to repair stuff, look into the John Deere tractor scenarios. Yeah, John Deere, they make tractors in America, I think globally as well, but I'm not so sure. But they have software programs on their farming equipment, and the machines won't run without it. And you're not allowed to fix the software because that's proprietary to John Deere, and altering it is a violation of whatever the hell it is. And so you've got these farmers who need their equipment running and working and repaired, but they can't fix it. They're legally not allowed to. So they have to buy a new multi-$1,000 piece of equipment because the software broke. And they all really are pissed off at it. But where else are you going to get tractors? Everything's so messed up nowadays. Everything's all backwards. iPhones are actually the easiest ones to fix. I take apart phones. That's my job. That's literally my job. I can fix an iPhone in 20 minutes, half hour, depending on what it is. At least for replaceable parts, the screen, the battery, the charge ports, miscellaneous camera and stuff, I can access those really easily on iPhones. The exception being the circuitry on the board. I can't really fix that. I don't have any tools for it. But that's micro soldering. If I could get the schematics or the specific components, the tiny microscopic resistors and shit, I could technically fix those, but I don't have anything specialized for that in generic electronics, not just iPhone. But yeah, iPhones quite literally are held together with 2 screws and some glue. You've got 2 screws at the base of the charge port. You take those out. Technically get a suction cup, pop up, stick it on the screen, pry it up a bit, wedge something between the crack, pull it around, and you can pull off the screen. It just pulls off, and you've got everything right there. Androids, you have to break everything to get to them. Orange warning mark about bad battery if you replace it. Not that I know of. I've literally been doing this for about a year. The only issue is when, like, literally one of the parts is manufactured bad, it comes back, or something of that nature. I've never had an issue of warning the battery is bad. Other than if it's, like, a really old battery. Unless you're talking about, like, old iPhones, like iPhone 4 or something. Yeah, I've replaced batteries in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and a screen on 11. I've had no real issues with odd warning labels. The exception being with the home button. The home buttons on iPhones are specific to the iPhone. They have like some chip that says this is part of this phone or something, and the replacements are generic ones without that chip. So it'll tell you there's like no ID fingerprint something or other. That part does stick around for the iPhones, but you can do without it. They give you a virtual home button, so it works out. You just can't use like fingerprint or something on it. I'm not quite sure why specifically that kind of stuff happens, but that part is a weird one. I took a proper battery from dead iPhone and it's as good as it gets. What? Potentially the battery itself is bad, as far as I know. Now there's potentially problems with a manufacturer defect in batteries that has happened. I ran into one the other day that, like, it was a replacement one and it was physically faulty, so we replaced it and good as new, relatively speaking. But the new ones, potentially, I might have to look into that. It might be an issue. But the only other, like, gripe I can talk about with, well, that'll kill, repair ability for anything. I'm gonna have to look into that. Well, shit. Yeah, that's anything that requires proprietary something or other to function is a dead field. That will kill any prospects for any of that stuff. Or maybe that's why the eye looks weird. It's got no black. It is all the way around. Okay. Yeah. No, the goal is to kill the third-party repair shops so that only the Apple ones can do it. You see it all the time with, honestly, any electronics tries it for the most part. Anything past like late 90s started putting in proprietary screws. Yeah, there's it used to be electronics were all taken apart by Phillips or Flathead just because that's what the screwdrivers that were around. And that's what made sense. But I could do those lines there. But later on they realized that people were taking things apart, so they introduced like torque screws, and then they introduced star bits, and then they introduced security torques and all that shit. And it was all designed to prevent people from opening it, prevent people from working on it themselves. So yeah, all that stuff is designed to prevent the guy who owns it from working on it, because they don't technically own it. But yeah, I've done the battery swap from one phone to another. That's something I've done fairly often. Whereas I've got two phones. Can you swap the battery from this broken screen one to this good screen one? Well, yeah, I can do that, or whatever have you. But yeah, it's there's not much you can really do about some of that stuff. Unless repair companies somehow figure out a way to spoof a battery. But that's probably illegal or something. Alright, so now that I've got most of this done, I'm gonna try. I went to the art store the other day, picked up some supplies. One of them was charcoal pencil. That's one of you recommended. I can't remember specifically who, but I went out and got some to try out and see how it works. Among some other things like some more paint and other pencils. Alright, so let's see how it works. Apparently it should be okay. So we've got you there. You guys probably aren't going to be able to see any of this. But that's... I'll show you in a minute. I should probably do red only on this one. Red first. Oh, I still have to get circles left too, don't I? And a bit right about here. That's the circle there. I think I see a type in there, so give me a minute. Circle there. Circle here. Angle thing there. Circle here. And circle here. Like you have a edge right there on the bottom. There, okay. People still see big corpses as their friends. Yeah, and that's not an issue you can solve. Quite honestly, that's... You're never going to change that. The corporations have worked incredibly hard to get to that point, and you're not going to change it unless they screw up more than humanly possible. Yeah. Yeah. I've got a coworker who is an Apple fan. And yeah, it's just, I point out problems and flaws and whatnot every so often. Like the big one with Apple that we don't just do physical repairs. We have people come in. My phone stopped working. Can you help me figure out why? Oh yeah, sure. Or like my email stopped loading. Can you help me load it up? Oh yeah, sure. Technical support like that. We do a fair amount of it. But give me 2 seconds here. Yeah, there we are. There's a bit of a tight fit here. But one of the things is Apple has known, and it's been proven, that they release updates that break old phones. And so when people come in wanting a fix to their phone, we can't help them because it's the update that broke it. And there's nothing we can do about that. Hey, that wasn't actually all that bad. And it's like literally they start updates that use up more processing power than the phones are able to safely handle, and it bogs everything down, and the phone gets slow, and then what happens is people end up, oh, I guess I need a new phone now. It's getting old and slow. No, technically your phone works perfectly fine. It just can't handle the update that has been forced upon it. Seconds here. Almost finished with this little bit, and I can turn around and see what the hell you guys have been saying behind my back. Alright. I think that's it. Luis Roston? Alright, look out. Is he the guy who's working at being able to show how to fix any Apple product? I remember there was a guy out there who did that. Remember hearing about him a few years ago. He was like showing the specific problems with Apple things and how to fix them on your own without a Apple technician or whatever. But yeah, a lot of companies are working very hard at building a public image as your friend. And one of the best examples currently I can think of, besides Apple, or more, is Warcraft, Blizzard, Activision. People, they have quite literally banned any Hong Kong speech. They have supported China. They have done all sorts of horrible things, but people still clamor for them. People still alright, that's him. Alright, but people still pay for things, even if like the company has like, for one instance, like completely ruined their class. Oh, but it's the right thing to do. Our class was a bit overpowered. They'll fix it in the next patch. They'll get something better. And it's this odd, it's that Stockholm syndrome, I think is the word for it. It's one of those weird systems where you start sympathizing with the person doing you wrong and agreeing with them. And I think that's what a lot of these people are doing. Or they've I think it needs to be a lot bigger. Why is that so off? The yeah, that's when it was actually Blizzard, the original Warcraft and such. And yeah, they mostly cared. And what they did originally was make a good game, and you can even feel it in the games. Yeah, it was about making great games. Now it's about profits first, and that's where the big line starts getting drawn. Give me a sec. I need to make this circle bigger. And yeah, and you can just tell immediately when something is for profit or because people think it's a good idea. And it's sad to say, but profits are what make the world go round. Minimal viable product. Yeah, that's that's the term. What is the least amount of stuff we can give you to get the most money back in return? Technically speaking, that's exactly what a business needs to do. But in doing so, you've undermined the entirety of what it is in the first place. I think I need just a new blob of paint. But yeah, it's for Warcraft, the point where I stopped playing and lost my ability to trust them was, well, we stopped playing back in Wrath of the Lich King. I think they just came out with Ulduar, I think was the last one I played, and even then I didn't actually truly play it because I couldn't, because my internet wouldn't let me. But give me half a sec. It's a weird shading bit here. But the point for me was I had a character who was a Blood Elf Warlock engineer, and I liked going around doing silly things. I was a gnomish engineer. I made the world enlarger, shrunk your character to like this tiny little size. Little remote control robots, all these silly little things that served no purpose but made the game fun. Or a gnomish death ray or a shrink ray that could potentially malfunction and make your enemy really big. All sorts of stuff like that. And I enjoyed it because it was fun. It wasn't all that effective, but it was neat. And in Burning Crusade, they came out with a engineering mount, which was the flying rotocopter something or other. And it was pretty cool. I actually built one, the base speed one. But then, to get the fast speed one, you had to buy the parts. You couldn't make any of it. You literally had to buy it. And it, as an engineer, you were like one of the least profitable classes in the game, and to make this thing, you had to have the most money to buy it. So it ended up being most people with the fast engineer mount were the ones who weren't engineers. But that's not the part that really pissed off most everybody. It was the part where Blizzard had a trading card game running. This is pre-Hearthstone. And they had physical cards that you were able to buy. And on it, they had a Goblin rocket mount. And you get the card, put that code into the game, and you would get a Goblin rocket mount. In and of itself, that's not a problem. The problem arose because the engineers have a forum where they submit ideas for Blizzard to implement into the game. And lo and behold, one of the biggest, most talked about, and most desired ideas from the engineering community for years was a Goblin rocket mount for the Goblin specialization. But Blizzard decided, no, it's better in the trading card game, not the engineers, who have asked for this for years. Blizzard pissed off a lot of engineers with that move. But it's like, okay, it's a trading card game, whatever. We'll figure something else out. But it just kept getting worse. To the point where the engineers made a record-breaking protest on the forums by making a forum thread 300 some odd pages long, asking Blizzard for any confirmation, any statement whatsoever to help about these engineer issues. They had a lot more at the time, but eventually the thread got closed, nothing happened, and that was it. The biggest thread in the forum history was completely ignored. Nothing happened. The only way for anybody to contact them was ignored. And then the record got broken during the whole Facebook fiasco. That was a mess of epic proportions. I wasn't around for that, but I was able to hear about it from other sources. But yeah, that thread ended up being 1,000 some odd pages long of people complaining you should not have my real life information in the game and then give it to friends of friends of friends of friends. But yeah, that was a disaster. But yeah, it's they became a company and stopped caring about things. And it just really is sad. Because a lot of my finest moments or memories are from Blizzard. One of my favorite games when I was growing up was, bad as it may seem, was Diablo 2. I had a hell of a lot of fun in that game. The atmosphere, the characters, the design of everything, it was just amazing. But lo and behold, that was actually made by Blizzard North, which wasn't actually the main Blizzard. And that team doesn't exist anymore. But yeah. And I have the weird superstition that a lot of the stuff I enjoy or become fond of tends to die off shortly after. Not as any bad luck or like everything is cursed, but it just tends to happen that way. One example was I was interested in the Warlock class, but then they got nerfed heavily. I was interested in the Demonology tree, the pet tree, that became abandoned. I was interested in the engineering field, that got ignored and shunned. I was interested in the Team Fortress 2 Pyro, who became useless for most of the game. I was interested in Half-Life 2, which has hit a cliffhanger and never even been talked of since. So yeah, it's etc, etc. I'm interested in platforming games, which are a dying genre. I don't mean to be a pessimist, but just when the stuff happens over and over again, you kind of try and take notice. Even if you don't mean to, things start lining up like that. That's why we can't have nice things. Yeah, it's all my fault. Sorry, guys. But yeah, it's but yeah, and it makes me appreciate all the more when people do try and stick to their guns and stick with what is valuable, what means something to them, and not just sell out. Even though I understand why a lot of things sell out, but the strange thing for me is you have teams and people who create something amazing, and then they sell out, and then it dies. Every single time. Anytime something is sold to another company, it dies. I do not have an idea of any company other than maybe The Witcher, because they bought a book story and turned it into a game and made it better. I think that's the only case where selling out hasn't done that. But even still, it like that's not Crash Bandicoot. That was another one of my childhood interests. They made the first 3 games, which were amazing, but then they sold out and the games went to shit. So much so I don't even know what they are. And then he got sold to Skylanders and all that stuff, and it's, you know, it's one thing if something ends. All right. Have fun with your friend, man. I don't need much luck with the stream. I got 40-ish minutes left. But the thing for me is, it's not that I can't. It's that when it gets sold, you're like watching it just. If it were just like ended, like for instance, the Crash Bandicoot series ended after the 3rd one, that would be okay. It was a clean ending, and things worked out. It's now finished. But when they get sold off and such, you have to watch them potentially be there, and then it's like watching something suffer, not allowed to die. And the companies just keep doing it and working it. The biggest example is Disney, where they just will not let anything die. They will keep it running forever as much as they can. Another one is The Simpsons. The single longest running the single longest running show in history. And it's that way because it made them money and they won't let it die. so it becomes just a pale imitation of its former self. And I hate seeing that happen. Because there's the phrase, all good things must end. And I honestly, legitimately believe that to be true. Because if it never ends, you can't truly fully appreciate it. It just keeps going, and then there's the other quote, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. New DuckTales. DuckTales. I didn't have cable when I was younger, but my grandparents did. So every so often I'd watch a show or two on there, and DuckTales would pop on every so often. But that is a one I should probably look back into. Yeah, new DuckTales, huh? And every so often you can see bits of like gems in the rough. You know, mark down new DuckTales. Oh. Thank you for the recommendation. I will probably look into it if I remember to and all that jazz. Yeah, you occasionally see some good in there, but oftentimes it's things that a company thinks is dead. Oh, there's no point here. Yeah, go ahead, do whatever. And then it turns to be an amazing thing. But as soon as it becomes amazing, that's when the corporation steps back in. Okay, it's doing good. Now you need to focus on this, this, and this. And it never fails. Whenever that happens and the corporation steps in, they focus solely on sales to make more money, while having that exact action be the thing that kills it, preventing it from making more money. And it's astonishing that nobody sees that. Nobody in the higher ups sees that. Hey, I'm gonna have paint on my arm today, aren't I? Alright, that's actually not looking too bad. I'll show you guys near the end of it when I'm able to. It's all this fine detail work that takes, I think, most time, when I can just fill in some of the colors, like I was saying, the shading and such. That shouldn't take as long, I don't think. But yeah, it's oh, another prime example of greed killing things is the show Heroes. That was honestly quite it started out as a very good show, but then they decided to see how long they could make it last, and it died because of it. And my dad, he likes watching TV shows, he likes watching movies, and he's been trying to find things to watch, things to see, things to be interested in. But him and I both agree that it's really hard to find anything of value anymore. Anything worth watching, anyways. And one of the shows he was watching was either Heroes or I think it was the Flash or Green Arrow. One of those for the DC shows. And in it, he says, well, the guy died like 3 or 4 times, and they brought him back to life. And they kept going, and did you really just dry while I was talking? That's not what you're supposed to do. Oh yeah, I looked up paint slowing agent or whatever, but the art store didn't have any. They had paint thinner for oils, but not paint slowers for acrylic. Or at least I didn't see it anyway. But yeah, the Green Arrow show. My dad was watching it. It was actually a relatively decent show. But then it ran into serialitis, where they just keep coming back. And another one for a lot of the especially the superhero shows, when we were watching them, when they were a bit bigger than they are now. Come on, why is I can only have so much little paint? Is the back and forth. I think one of the terms used nowadays is the status quo, which I honestly hate that word, just because of how much it gets used nowadays. But they would have the evil villain turn over a new leaf and become the good guy, only for the next good guy to become the villain, and then the villain turned back into a villain, and then the friend changed them back, and it was just a mind control thing, and back and forth to the point you have no reason to trust anybody, yet those people continue to do so. It's very odd. I know the superhero genre isn't quite the best example of consistency, but when you've got somebody who's betrayed you multiple times, there's really not a reason to continue trusting them. The first time, potentially a mistake, whatever, there's potentially a second chance, but there's not a third chance. It does not work that way. Because realistically, if you keep trusting the guy who stabs you in the back, and you're still surprised that he stabs you in the back, you're not all that bright. But kind of leading back into some of the other things that we've been talking about, people who trust the big companies to be in their best interest, I think, are those same people that expect them to not stab them in the back again and again. Almost done here, and I'm running out of paint. God damn it. It's really fascinating how some of this paint works. I can get a very thin line sometimes, and other times I can only get a kind of a fat-ish blob. And it only works for just a split second before the paint goes away. Okay, so there is the main motif of the bird. I think all the black areas of the shield done. I think I do need to get a white bit over there, but I've got, and the paint dries. Alright, so we've got a bit of a beak here. And then the eyeballs here. we go. Haha. Fill this in just a little bit more. And I think that's a decent shield. I'm doing it. I'm doing it, guys. But yeah. And it's one of the biggest things of noticing companies and such just not realizing what people want. Best example is Hollywood. They keep pushing out movie after movie after movie. And the Rotten Tomatoes guys are a big example of what's wrong with the industry. If a movie comes out and people don't like it, the companies force them to stop the reviews from taking place. So, like, the people say it's a horrible movie, it sucks, it's what the hell is the point of this? And then the big Hollywood companies come down and say, no, it's just a bunch of trolls spewing whatever. And you can see that they're trying to manually shift the perception of everything, and they're trying to control what you think. And it sounds like it goes back to the game Metal Gear Solid 2. It came out in like 2000, something like that. And in it, there's this big old big old speech of how give me one sec. How actually I'll use the bigger brush now because it's a little bit more room to work with. When you ask about what's your favorite kind of music, such and such, and how do you determine what's good music? Well, probably the top of the polls. And the question is, who determines the top of the polls? The top of the charts. And that right there is the big thing nowadays. Because all these Hollywood folks and like 5-star review, like all these critics agree it's a wonderful movie. But then you look at what like normal people say about it. It sucks. It's And that's honestly the only thing for the past few years, I have yet to actually see or hear of a movie that was really worth going to. That wasn't like Avengers or something. Because they're all just mediocre. They're all just whatever. But they all have the budget of a big blockbuster hit, but none of the actual payoff of it. It's weird. And then the companies just don't get it. They keep pushing. I guess one of them was Joker. That was one that we went to and saw, and that was actually not quite phenomenal, but it was pretty good. But weird, not quite as great as everybody makes it out to be, but it was still a pretty good movie. And I like the aspect of humanizing the guy, and you can understand why he did the things he did. I'm going to leave a bit of a gap there because I need to recolor some of that. I did a boo-boo when I was first filling this in, so I gotta fix that. But, well, I'll keep babbling about the Joker, I guess. It was about a guy who was just trying to make people smile. He legitimately was trying to be a good person, but every single thing in his life went wrong. Just about everything. Wasn't actually his mother, wasn't good at his job, wasn't actually funny, wasn't respected, wasn't anything. Every single thing went wrong in his life. Just flat out. And so he decided, what's the point? Why should I care what anybody else thinks anymore? They don't care about what I think. And it's a fascinating take because I'm not promoting violence or anything like that, but I am promoting questioning what the society. Well, why don't you do that? Well, you shouldn't do that because it's not what people do. Why? Why isn't it what people do? Well, it's just not what it is. There was an experiment done on monkeys or whatnot, and it got Facebook memed for a while, sometime back, where these scientists had this room full of monkeys, okay, or gorillas or whatever that was at the time. I don't know specifically. And it was, is that just a solid white? Not quite, still just a really bright gray. But it was this room of monkeys, and they had in the center of the room bananas on top of a ladder or something like that, and they just left it there. And so you had all these monkeys, they're attracted to the bananas, they go up there and grab it, and all of a sudden they get sprayed by a bunch of water. Not just the guy who grabbed it, but everybody. Everybody's sprayed by the bananas. And so they all calm down or whatever afterwards. Another monkey goes up there and they get sprayed again. And eventually they learn if anybody tries to go up there and grab the banana, you beat the hell out of them because nobody wants to be sprayed anymore. And so that's what they did. If anybody went up there to try and grab the banana, everybody else would come down and beat them up because they didn't want to get sprayed. Well, here's where the experiment thing came in. The handlers slowly replaced the original gorillas with new ones. And the new ones, not knowing about the sprinklers, would go up there to try and grab a banana. But all the old monkeys would go up and beat them down because they didn't want to get sprayed. And they slowly and introduced the more and more new monkeys to the point where none of the original monkeys were there. But the monkeys would still beat the hell out of anybody who tried to grab a banana, even though they themselves didn't know why. They were never exposed to the original consequence. And so they were perpetuating a societal thing. It was something that society does, and it's just, why are you doing it? Because that's what you do. And I see a fair amount of that in society today. Well, why do you do it that way? Well, that's because that's what you do. But so for me, it's, you don't necessarily need to take action on it, but it's healthy to question why. Why do we do it that way? Why should I listen to you? Why? Why does this help me? Why do we do this? What purpose does it serve? And if there's no action or no answer for it, it's like, then why should I be doing it? Why should it be a thing? There and there, and this big one here. Give me a sec. This is a very thin little line here. And of course, as I say that, I put down a giant blob. Yeah. I'll just fix it in post, right? can just paint over it afterwards. So technically I can fix it in post. Alright, and then you guys come over there like so. And I do like the kind of like the reverse shadows, the highlights on here, as a main way of coloring, I guess. Shit. It's kind of a fascinating look. Alright, let's see here. Oop. And the canvas moved. That's an unexpected one. Alright, I think that's most of it. I think that's pretty much it. The harsh shadows, I think that's the term I'm looking for. But yeah. Making do, making do. And you? Oh, let's go. Let's see what we got. And yeah, this was not going to work out. Yeah, it's too big of a rush. And this is why I always try and like use the small ones, because the big one you can't always use, but the small one you technically can. Okay, so let's get to it. Alright, so one, try and clean up that little line there. But yeah, society, it's so weird how much people just blindly accept what's in front of them, and they don't question it. And oftentimes a lot of people become like dependent, obsessive of their beliefs or whatnot, and I don't quite know how else to put it. Oh, give me a sec. And my paint is dry again. Yeah. But like, people have it so that their belief in a company, their belief in whatever, like social media brand, what have you, if you question that, you're questioning their very existence, it feels like sometimes. And people would rather be living a lie than face any sort of truth. So, and I see it. I see it in some people's faces. And I know the only way to get that to change is to completely break the person down. But they're so afraid of getting to that point that they won't even consider it. They won't allow it. They'll not let it happen. But that's the only way to improve. So it gets weird. It's this weird moral dilemma of, do you do nothing to let them live their own life, or do you sit there and try and sit with them and break them down fully so that they can actually recover? And there's not really an answer to it. At least that honestly is where a lot of my personal anxiety comes from, because I can see it. I can see what needs to be done, but I'm not the one who can make that decision. It's not up to me to decide whether to do that or not. At least, not as I know it. And I've started questioning my own belief in that regard as well. Because one of the things is, because in order to, like, make any sort of impact on something like that, you have to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort in order to get very little traction. And so often, it's just not worth it. Just let it go. But it's in that just let it go that it allows the, lack of a better word for this thing, corruption, to spread. And so, by letting it be, you're allowing it to exist, allowing it to happen, which isn't really a good thing. But so I've relatively recently been thinking about it, and one of the answers I'm leaning towards is to not give a shit anymore, because I personally can't afford it. Because the weird issue is, like, say the person is wrong, I can't quite fully articulate it, but let's just say the person is wrong about this one particular thing. Blanking on any example, and it's morally, factually, provably wrong. Okay, whatever happens to be. Let's just say they believe stealing is okay. Just a random example. I would have to sit there and prove to them time and time and time again that it is actually wrong. It does actually hurt. All that stuff. But in order to do so, I would have to argue it. I would have to be the one to initiate the whole thing. And I wouldn't have to be the one that has the burden of proof. I would have to be the one that has to work so hard to get this person that I might not even know to see how they are wrong. And then they would have to accept that they were wrong in order for anything I did to matter. Which, as most people know, people really, really, really don't like thinking they are wrong. But, and so it's this weird dilemma where the person is spewing things that are factually wrong, are fully in their belief that they are in the right, and in order to disprove that, in order to fix the problem, it's all on me. I'm the one who has to see it, fix it, fight it, and work it for nothing. It's like, it's all on it's no effort on their part to do what they're doing. It's all the effort on anybody else's part to come to it. I don't know. And so I've come to the realization it's one of two things. Either A, just let it go, which I've already expressed doesn't really help, but it allows me to just go about my day without having to do something else. Yeah. Or spend my absolute full attention on them until the problem is solved. That's honestly the only two options I really see available. Because if I were to spend any less than my full attention, I would not be able to make a difference. If they are... I have to spend... It's an all or nothing thing, from what I've been able to piece together. Because if you end up with a, let's just agree to disagree, that means nothing. Everything you've talked about, that means they still keep their point of view, you still keep your point of view. Nothing has happened. It's just an absolute waste of time. And you just, neither of you come off satisfied, and you've potentially made enemies in the process. Just, it's not worth it unless you go all out. Or just straight up ignore it. And more it's looking like I'm not able to straight up ignore it anymore. And that's honestly one of the things a weird train of thought, but when I go to Texas, one of the things I'm planning to do is straight up not give a shit about some things. So, because here I'm a known person, I have people who know me, people who somewhat dependent on me, people who will be affected by the things I do. So, like for instance, me speaking out about whatever could cause harm for people I care about. So I don't. Or speaking my mind about some of the other things will really cause problems for other people, just straight up questioning their core beliefs. And people I like work with or I'm around a lot. So I don't do it. And it's again kind of like the societal thing. That's not something you do that society does. That's just how we do it. And so when I move down there, I'm gonna try a lot of different things. Stop caring so much about these odd little problems and just do what I want to do. Because I'm not gonna let people who don't even know they're holding me back hold me back. I want to try and just be me. And allow myself to be me even at the expense of others. I really do hate that, but there is the phrase, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And it's quite true. Even if you take it to to its most basic literal meaning, it's still true. As in, let's say you have like just a basket of apples, just random example, and that's all the food you got for here. You've got 9 apples, but 10 people. Or well, let's just go 10 apples and 10 people. If you were to grab one apple, you are taking that one apple away from everybody else. Even if you grab a different apple, you're taking that apple away from everybody else. There is no situation in which you can take an apple and not take it away from somebody else. In order to gain, something else has to be lost, just flat out. So, trying to make it so that nobody is ever hurt is impossible. Nobody loses something. Cannot physically be done. So you just have to take away from somebody. Even if you don't want to, you still have to. For instance, the food at the supermarket. You get the last box of cereal. You get the last whatever on the shelf. You have now denied anybody else for that day from getting something. In order for you to progress, you have shortened somebody else. And so that's one of the things I'm going to be doing when I move. Not purposely to short people, but I'm no longer going to worry that my actions are causing problems for people, because it is an inevitability. No matter how you go about it. And even worst case scenario, let's say you just take nothing. You absolutely eat nothing. You stop breathing. You just like flat out die. Okay? You do absolutely the least possible amount of things you can do in the world and end up dying. Even still, the worst case scenario, you are doing the least possible amount of anything you can physically do. You still exist. You still are breathing air. You still are taking up space that somebody else could have. No matter how you skew it, you will always be doing something at the expense of somebody else. And it's just a fact. The fact that I am physically here right now. I am taking up this space in space that nobody else is able to. They would have to, in order for somebody to take this space, they would have to get rid of me, get me out of the area, some fashion or other. And if I wanted to buy a house, if I wanted to buy something, I am taking that from somebody else. It just cannot work any other way. Not unless it's a digital world. And even then, that's not entirely foolproof. That's kind of a fake world. But here in the real world, you're taking up space at this point. Well, here's the thing. Even if you go full on that route of you don't want to take up space at that point, you are still causing issues for people. Even if you were to die, people would care. Hell, even if there is no amount small enough that you can, in order to exist, you have to take something. That is a fact. So, with that in mind, it opens up a bit of a thought process. It's okay to take things. It's okay to be there. It's okay to exist. Hello. Anyway, Nightmare. Hello, Cirrus, and hello, Nightmare. Welcome. Not too much longer here anyway. But it's just, with that train of thought, no matter what you do, you will be inconveniencing somebody somehow. So the thought process of, I don't want to inconvenience anybody is flawed from the start. It can't happen. So, with that thought process in mind, it now becomes, well, if I can't not inconvenience people, then might as well do it. If you can't beat them, join them. Type of mindset. Right? And that's kind of where I'm at a bit. Because I did go through this thought process way a while ago. Went through a depression trying to be as small of a burden as possible when I stumbled upon that odd little train of thought. And it really kind of opened my eyes a bit. It's physically impossible for me to be any less of a burden simply by existing. And even if I didn't exist, I would then take up space from something else. Whatever. So, might as well. So, instead of worrying about inconveniencing people, trying to not be a burden, it's still nice and polite to not inconvenience people, but it's not as big of a deal as you, or more specifically me, really made it out to be at the time. And so I'm in the process of learning how much I can actually do and still be personally okay with the choices I made. Because I'm not, that train of thought, I'm not about to go and just like grab candy from a baby and like kick people in the face because I feel like it. That's going overboard. But don't feel bad about taking that last apple. Don't feel bad about spending a bit more than you feel like. It's okay to have excess. It's okay to do a little bit more. It's okay to be human. There we are. But yeah. So what's up? We're just kind of talking about life and philosophy a bit while I'm painting the boots on this guy. At least trying to. I think I should be able to finish by tomorrow. I think tomorrow will be the last day for this guy. And paint dries so fast I can't even get it on there sometimes. And then this canvas, I don't know what it is, but there's all these little white specks. I can't get rid of them. It is. And I think tomorrow it'll actually be really good. I've finally got all the his eyes are a little wonky. I want you a little bit further left. There we go. That's a good eye position. But yeah, all that's left is the shading. Like, for instance, his skin color is just a flat color. I need, for the picture, it's got a bit of a darker color across. And that should be, filling in some of the bits, should be a pretty straightforward one. Not quite as detailed as this fine line work, which is kind of crazy, but I did it. But yeah, here we go. Here's the painting so far. There we are. I really wish I could have that second camera, but it's just like everything is sold out. There are no cameras to be bought. None of that shit. I keep tabs on them every so often. Whenever they pop up, I'll try and snag one. This piece, I started Sunday, I think. Yeah, it's been about a week long process. If you're curious, this one is a lot longer. And I don't like the face. I don't know what it is, but the face is off, and I can't place specifically why. But this is Beatrice the Elder. And I have Beatrice the Golden. I don't quite have right position, but yeah, this is the stuff I started with. First real portrait painting is this one. This is my second one. This is my third painting. And I'm working at it and seeing where things go. But yeah, that is it for today. I'm streaming till 6 a.m. I gotta get off so other people are allowed onto the internet. It'll be a nice day when I can have my own internet at my own time and I don't have to share. Speaking of it's okay to exist. I want my own internet. I want my things for me. It makes a big difference with things. But anyway, it's already been a pretty good day. I've got this basically done. I just gotta fill in that last little bit and it should be okay. Anyway, take care everybody. Have a good one. Hope you're at least entertained for a little bit.